Welcome to Let's Talk World, everyone. Anyway, my name is Maria and I am your host. I am sitting down here with the Henderson City Council candidate in Henderson, Nevada, Jason Porter.
Hi,
Welcome to my show.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh, that's good. I want everybody to get excited when they come to our show. Well, anyways, guys, let's all face it. It is the time of the year again where we're gonna have to choose who want to serve us in 2 to 4 years. And who do you want, who do you trust? Who do you want to represent you in the office? Well, all I can say is be smart when choosing someone. That's the reason why I invited Jason here, to sit down with me today, because tomorrow is the primary election.
It is. It is. It's a big day. I've never done this before, so tell you the truth, I'm nervous.
You're nervous?
I am.
Are you nervous sitting down here, or you're nervous?
You've made me very comfortable, Maria. Thank you very much.
I'm glad. I'm glad that I did my job.
But I'm a businessman, so people ask me all the time, how's the campaign going? And I have no idea because you know business. We can pull a P&L and a balance sheet, and I can tell you how the business is doing. But as far as an election is concerned, we'll find out tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah. So
scary. You told me earlier that this is your first time running.
First time.
How long you been in Las Vegas?
6.5 years.
And you've been in Henderson all this time.
In Henderson the whole time.
So when you for 6 years, what you less like? What you didn't like in Henderson?
I love Henderson. I love everything in Henderson.
But there's something that you would...
There are some things that I see changing, and I wanted to get involved. I've never been, like I said, never been in politics, but the hometown feel that I moved there for is changing. I'm really concerned that Henderson is developing too quickly. We are building high density at a pace that is affecting our quality of life. And, there's a lot of people that are saying that's because of a pay-for-play scheme with the large developers contributing so much to some of the city council. And when I looked into it, I saw that, man, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars are contributed to my opponent by development and pro-development companies for a seat that only pays $60,000, and a red flag went up. If you follow the money, there's usually some signs. So that got me interested, because I think we need to slow things down. We don't have enough police for the growth. We're also digging up a toxic mine right now and doing the Three Kids Mine project, which I just don't understand. So I threw my hat into the ring without really knowing what I was doing, and I'm excited to be able to make a difference in Henderson, really am.
So you are a businessman, and have you ever thought when you were young that you're going to be running for office?
Oh, heck no. No, in fact, the statement that I've made many times is I don't like politicians, right? I don't trust them. And here I find myself being a politician and at least getting into that game. But I have made a vow to myself and to many others, and I've knocked on thousands of doors, I've spoken to thousands of people, and I'm just going to be true to who I am, right? I'm a business owner. Well, I'm a husband first. Mm-hmm. I'm a father and a grandfather second.
Yeah, congratulations. I see that.
Thank you. And that's and who I am to the core is about my family and about my friends, about my faith, and about my city. And I see my city changing. So I really want to be involved in making a difference and improving our quality of life, or getting it back to what was there 6 years ago.
So with the things that you see that's wrong, or that's that is a concern in the city of Henderson, if you are going to be elected, if you're gonna had a chance to serve the community of Henderson, how would you? You're a businessman.
Sure.
And I have a big respect to businessmen, and don't quote me on this, don't actually send me hate messages, but the reason why I kind of like Trump before, because he is a businessman. When you're a businessman, you have a better insight. You're a true leader. You are literally you make executive decision based on the facts, based on what you see it's right, it's ethical. So how would you, if you are going to be elected, how would you assess all the situation and put into work being a businessman?
Well, one, as a business person, I have to let the numbers make the decision, right? I don't become emotionally involved in the business decision. The decision is based on economics first and everything else second. And that is not really how it's done at a city level. For example, let's talk about the Three Kids Mine development. The incentives provided to the developers by the city just economically don't make sense. It's a $250 million project with a $300 million guaranteed interest payment. And the way those payments are to be made is as a discount on property taxes going back to the developers for the next 30 to 35 years. So there are 3,000 homes that are going to go into that development. That development is going to, we as a city are going to only receive 15% of the property taxes, yet we have to provide 100% of the policing, 100% of the fire, 100% of the schooling of the children there, 100% of the road maintenance, 100% of the park maintenance. We have to provide all the services of the city when only receiving 15%. And what the city creatively says, which is, I call it government math, because it's not business math,
No, yeah.
it's government math.
It's
Well, the taxpayer isn't paying a dime. Bull crap. That
Yes,
is. Can I say
it is.
that?
Yeah, yes, you
Okay.
can say that.
That's bull crap, because the rest of us have to pay to provide the services that we're only receiving 15% of the revenue on. So yes, there isn't a check written by the taxpayer for that, but it's still money being paid out of our pockets, and it's just it's the kind of thing that only a bureaucrat would be able to ethically make the equation that it's not costing the taxpayers a dime. That is not true.
And the decision maker of this one is the council members, right?
It was voted for by the council members, and one of those council members has said publicly that she regrets her decision. She was not given all the information about the finances, and the information on the overseeing of the toxic cleanup was actually given to her incorrectly. So she voted on some misinformation. But good news on that is because she's now gotten very involved and very angry about what was going on. And NDEP has actually increased their monitoring of things, and we're seeing better watering and less clouds of dirt out there. So there's some positive changes coming about, but it still doesn't fix the finances.
Yeah.
The finances.
And it takes a while before it fixes. If you see some kind of inefficiency of of the proceeds going to someplace,
Right.
it takes a while before you guys can fix it. Or they can fix it.
Yeah, and here's the biggest thing to me. I've never in 32 years. I don't know. Is this our camera here? Or there's two of them. So this one
Yes.
here, okay.
We have 3 cameras.
All right. So in 32 years of running a business, I've never been able to go to the government and ask for more money. See, a bureaucrat, when they want more money, they spend the money they had and try to show that it was spent wisely so that they can then go in and ask for a larger budget. And in business, that's just not the way it works.
No, yeah.
We have a budget, and if we want more money, we have to produce more product.
And services.
And services, right? When you read the governance policy of the city of Henderson, they actually, by name, refer to the residents as customers.
Wow.
So they see the customers, residents, as their form of revenue, which is already a problem. They are not our customers. They are the residents, and we work for them. And we don't go to them
They
and
are the
say,
bosses.
yeah, we don't go to them and say, hey, we spent all our money and did a good job, so give us more money next year. No, we need to allocate those funds as if they were sacred and be very concerned about their proper allocation and be less concerned about providing incentives to large contributors to the campaigns.
Well, I wish I actually this is a really good talk. I wish that I can actually go to the inappropriations of funds and everything. But I'm just gonna go with my next question.
Sure.
Yeah. Given if you are going to be elected, how would you fix this type of issue?
Well, first of all, I don't do business in the state of Nevada, and I will not have a consulting company to provide consulting services to developers, which is not currently illegal. And 4 of our 5 council members have consulting companies.
Wow.
They can recuse themselves and say, I have a conflict of interest here, so I'm not voting. And thankfully they do that. But the problem is behind the closed doors, it only takes 3 to pass. 4 have consulting companies, so the other 3 pass it, and you have 1, you know who she is. And she's
So we have 4 council members.
4 council members and the mayor.
The mayor.
The mayor and 3 council members have consulting companies. Now, the first thing I'll do when I'm your representative in Henderson is I'm going to pass an ordinance to forbid any council member or mayor from having a consulting company that provides services to any business of any type in Henderson.
Yeah.
They have to divest from that because it's a conflict of interest. And if they can't divest from that, then they need to get out and become a lobbyist.
Yes.
Which I also think we should create an ordinance against. If you work for the government, you shouldn't be able to utilize your position of the past to be able to influence elections in the future.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So.
And wow.
So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be. I can't be compromised.
And you're gonna just work for the people.
That's it. And one thing, and I've said this publicly, is if a developer does, what happens is if you win, the developers then come in and say, hey, we want to help you get rid of your debt. How much debt do you have? And basically what's happened in the past is you just give them a number and they then go raise it amongst the development community and give you a bunch of money for your next campaign. Well, I don't aspire to be the mayor or the governor or anything else. I just want to make changes in Henderson. And I only want to sit on that seat until those changes are made, and then I want to go play pickleball and retire. So that's really all I want to do. So I don't really the money isn't even attractive to me, right? The $60,000 a year job is actually going to be a pay cut because it'll take time away from my business, which is going to cost me more than I'm making. So
what trigger you? What is your motivation to run for office, Jason?
Henderson has become the 2nd most dangerous city in Nevada. North Las Vegas is number 5. Las Vegas is number 6. And that's a recent article that came out. Henderson City itself says they're the 2nd safest city in the country, and they quote Money Geek magazine and a couple other nonsensical magazines that come up with an algorithm for the cost of crime. But when you look at actual violent crime, there's 10.7 incidents of violent crime per 1,000 residents in Henderson right now. And that's not acceptable. Why do we have so much? It's because of all this high density building we're doing. We don't have enough police officers to handle it. Henderson only has 0.9 police officers per 1,000 when the FBI recommends 2.3.
Oh, wow.
So we have to double the number of police. And it's a hard thing to do right now because being a police is not as attractive as it used to be. Public opinion has changed, and as many kids don't want to be police. So I want to get involved to slow down development and pace it with our ability to hire amazing police officers. Our police officers are amazing. Chief Chadwick's doing an amazing job.
Do we have a separate chief of police in Las Vegas and Henderson?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, totally different departments. You have Metro, which is Las Vegas, and then you have the Henderson Police Department. And I'm very, very proud of those police officers that I know they're doing a great job, but they are understaffed. And I'm very grateful that the council actually did something good with these because we're putting on so much pressure as candidates about the underpayment. We were the lowest paid police department in the valley.
I bet.
Yeah, we were. And they just recently passed a change and got rid of the first 3 steps. So
I think that's a good first step.
It was a good step.
Yes.
And I'm glad. I can't take credit for making the change, but I will take credit for putting pressure on them. Because every time I knock on a door and every time I had an opportunity to speak, I'm saying our cops just are not paid enough. And they took the opportunity to take that off the table and make a change, which I'm grateful that they did. It was a good thing.
How many population is Henderson right now?
We're about 354,000 in Henderson right now.
And what is the main goal of the office? What is the main goal of the city, city of Henderson?
The city council actually confers on any type of changes to ordinances, changes to zoning, approvals of new projects. Those all come down to a city council voting on them. And one of the things that I will do, and to be candid, if you just look at the voting record of my opponent and basically the incumbents right now, they vote lockstep with development. We need to have people who will say, look, some development is fantastic, we need it. But there's others we need to say, time out. That's not good for the citizenry. So answer is no, sharpen the pencil, come back with a different plan. And we don't see enough of that happening right now.
Wow, yeah. Oh my God, there's a lot. It seems like there's a lot of things had to be fixed in the Henderson of Nevada.
That being said, Henderson's amazing. I don't want to pay the
And it is,
wrong
no,
picture.
yeah, well,
It's amazing.
not only Henderson, but every city in the, in the United States.
There's a crime problem coast to coast.
Yes.
There's issues that we have as a country that we've never seen. I think part of our biggest issue is the polarity of two parties and the hatred that people have.
Yes.
When one of the things as a business person, all I can hope for when I go into a negotiation is that both of us win.
Yes.
And that's a skill that business people have.
Yes.
That politicians
Everybody wins.
they won't compromise. We see that in Washington D.C. We see that all over, even in our state. And I think two-party system is a good thing, and I think that strong opposition in politics is a good thing because it forces people to find middle.
Yep.
And that's the way I will govern.
I think so too. Yeah, I think we need a lot more of business minded, or even I think when you go to school for political science, right? I think there's a lot of business subjects but courses on political science, but they should put more in there, especially negotiation is number one.
Yeah.
When you are a politician, when you are running a country or a city, I think it is very important to do that.
One thing you'll see with politicians is they'll never say they did anything wrong.
Yeah.
And in business, one of the first things you learn is that the answer, my fault, I screwed that up, let me fix it, is actually a strength.
It
and
is
in
a
politics,
strength.
for some reason, they just think that if they admit to
They
anything,
think it's a weakness.
no,
it's
yeah,
not.
and it
Yes.
really not. People understand everybody makes mistakes, and that's part of human nature.
It is
And
a part
the
of
one
human
thing we
nature.
don't like is when somebody lies about it, because we know they did something and they're saying they didn't. So, look, I'm not going to be perfect. Never have been in my life. And if I make a mistake, I expect those of you who vote for me and are living in Ward 1, call me and say, dude, you got it wrong.
How many ward? How many ward is the Henderson?
Henderson's 4 electoral wards, and Ward 1, Ward 2, and Ward 4 are up for election right now. And there are 3 strong, they're competitors to the incumbents. And the problem is when you're an incumbent, you're playing with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, so you can just market. And when you're an incumbent, it's whatever money you bring to the table. And I'm not as wealthy as a lot of people on this earth, but I've been blessed, and I'm grateful that I've been able to do what I've done so far. Hopefully, it's enough. It won't be unless you get out and vote for me.
So let's talk about your ward. What is explain to us, where is that?
So Ward 1 is, and I'll start east to west because it's the easiest way to explain it. There was a little gerrymandering that went on, and Lake Las Vegas used to be part of Ward 3, Kerry Cox's ward, but for whatever reason they cut that off and they gave it to Ward 1. But the way it is now, it's Lake Las Vegas and Calico Ridge on the east side of Henderson, far east. And then it goes to the south side of Lake Mead Parkway, all the way down to the border of Boulder, and then all the way west to Gibson. So even under the freeway a little bit. So it's all of Mission Hills, Paradise Hills. It's all of downtown Henderson, Water
Is
Street.
that where you live?
I live in that far east side. I live in Lake Las Vegas. But that's the ward. My congregation at church is that same area. So these are people that I've known and loved for 6.5 years.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, let's talk about economy.
Okay.
You are in business. I am not familiar. I'm familiar only in the Las Vegas area, but I'm not familiar. I always treat Henderson as part of my city. You know,
Sure,
even
sure.
I'm in Summerlin area.
It's
So,
the valley. So,
yeah, it's
yeah.
the valley. Yeah. So, so when I know that even Mayor Goodman has nothing to do with the strip, I think when it comes to economy, is that correct?
Uh,
I think so. Yeah,
yeah.
I think I read that someplace.
As far as the economy is concerned, you're talking about the national economy?
Yeah, the Las Vegas with
We're Las
all.
Vegas. Las
Yeah.
Vegas's economy is really not driven so much at a city level. The
Yes, yes,
regulations on
yes.
business, the regulations on those things are done at a state level. So those state senate seats are going to be important,
Oh, that.
and then our national senate and congressional seats are going to be vitally important for stimulating the economy. At a city, one of the things I'll do for Henderson is look, as a business owner for years, I had a short stint where I was for several years was a vice president of business development for a new software company, and I was able to
Yes.
do a deal directly with Microsoft. So
What's the name of that company? I read it.
that company of yours was called Stores Online,
Yes.
or Crescendo, which is still publicly traded. So Crescendo is a brand that I started as the vice president of business development back in the day. And you can check that out at CREXENDO, and I think they're still traded on the Nasdaq for some amount of money. I don't have any stock with them, but anyway, as a former biz dev guy, I have the ability to talk to C-level executives, and I think that really changes the dynamic of our current city council. I'm going to go hard after businesses to move in here, and there is no reason to me that companies are leaving California in droves and going to Utah or to Idaho, what they call the Silicon Slopes. They're taking these programming companies in and bringing massive amounts of revenue into the state. Why isn't Henderson whining and dining these companies to leave the Bay Area where the cost of living is crazy?
Yeah.
Come here to Henderson. We've got football, we've got
all the sports,
baseball,
yes.
we've got hockey, we've got women's basketball, which has been dominant. We've got all of the sports, all of the entertainment, all of the fun that just isn't as prevalent in Idaho and Utah. Not to say that those aren't amazing places to live or to raise a family, not at all. But we've got some really unique
Good.
things
Going in
that
this city, yeah.
we got to go after them.
Yeah.
We got to go after them.
So okay. Whenever there's something happening here because Henderson is not. It is like a part of the state, the
Sure.
city. So anything that's coming into Las Vegas, actually, you also get the part of it, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
You drive the economy for the whole valley, right?
The whole valley, yes.
If we bring a software company that's going to bring in $1,500 or 1,500 high-level, six-figure programming jobs, right? People who are coding SQL and so forth. People who are putting out that kind of business. I'm not talking about a server farm for Google. That was a good get, but very small number of employees and very small amount of economic gain from a cash spending basis.
Mm-hmm.
But you take a domiciled entity in Henderson that's based there, that people are going to live all over the valley and commute there if there's
Yep.
1,000 employees, right? And then they're going to get their paychecks and they're going to go all over the valley to spend them. So the economy is going to be stimulated by that
Yeah.
growth. And I think that's a better growth than high density housing again and again and again. We need some housing, that's true. But we need jobs more than anything, high paying jobs.
Well, as an investor of real estate, you're an investor of real estate. Yeah.
Through a very strange mechanism.
I'm
Yes,
trying
I
to
am.
save this on the other segment.
Okay.
But I'm just gonna bring it up. So, in Las Vegas, we have a high, numbers of homelessness.
We do.
Yeah. As an investor, and if you are going to be elected, how can you actually incorporate them together to help?
I have some very creative ideas for that. And I've not really been asked in a public way to do that. So is this the time? Should we talk about how
Yes.
a creative way to help homeless?
Please.
This would be a combination of public-private in venture together, in work together. And Henderson is interested in that. The existing council has done several public-private joint ventures, which I think is a good way to go. Because the reality is government sucks at business and should not be in the business of being in business. Business should be in the business of business.
Yep.
Because they can run much more lean. They can pivot quickly as the market changes. Business can move quickly to be able to adapt. Government changes very slowly. So I like to see private sector involved. Now, what does an investor want? A real estate investor, they want cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
They want cash flow. And they want that cash flow to have what is called a good cap rate, right?
Yep.
They want to have some sort of a return on their investment. There are several examples of these public-private ventures of investors doing tiny home communities for our homeless. Yeah. So the tiny home community, and I'll just address this directly with that tiny home community, and I'm talking about something that is, 8 to 10 feet wide by 12 to 16 feet, that has the comforts of a home without without everything there. For example, an off-site bathroom shower block, off-site laundry, and those types of things. But it would be a place where homeless can live, and there would be a stipend created for them. They would need to abide by the rules of the housing project in order to remain there. This would give them the ability to have clean, fresh clothes, the ability to have a mailing address, the ability to have personal grooming kept properly. They'd have to want that. There are homeless individuals who just want a hand up, and then we can transition them out of that development project into their own housing and something that they could, after getting properly employed, they could afford. So we've seen this kind of project work. In fact, I know you spent some time in Hawaii. We talked about that. My wife and I had an opportunity to serve a homeless project in Hawaii through a laundry program. So they had the houses that were subsidized by government and assisted, but it was a private venture. And these people had a place where they could get clean showers every day without it being completely free. They had to live by a certain standard. They needed to do drug and alcohol testing. They needed to show that they were applying for jobs, and there was all kinds of opportunity provided through the government, but it was done at a private level for the housing side of it. So I don't know, we could talk about that kind of a project, which I think would be interesting. Henderson does have a function, a department that has been helping homeless people, and I'm not one who's going to just hate on the existing council. Look, if they do 95% of the things right and 5% wrong, I want to be the guy that changes those 5%. The reality is I think they're doing a lot more than that wrong. But one of the things they've done is, with this housing crisis, they've developed a department that's put a number of people into into permanent housing, which is commendable. It's better than driving them across the city lines in a police car and saying "get out."
Yeah, right.
Which has happened in the past.
I believe it's 6 years ago. I met these veterans who are building these small houses. I think they call it tiny houses. Have you heard it?
Yeah. It's a really economical way to build, right? Because they can all be built off-site, and they're just basically built on a trailer. But it has an address. It has everything that it needs. I would suggest building them without the full plumbing, but would have HVAC and everything else. But if you needed to use the restroom, it'd be cheaper for them to go to one central block rather than trying to plumb a lot of tiny houses. Yeah, which from a construction standpoint just becomes costly.
Is our government actually giving funds to these tiny houses? Are they planning to have it someplace here in Las Vegas? Because I remember that I know it started someplace, but they started in California. I believe Santa Maria, California, or something in that area.
I've seen one of these projects in Sacramento area. That's where I saw where I first saw the idea, and beautiful, clean. But it took private businesses to come in and build it, because government isn't in the business or shouldn't be in the business of being in business. So the private investor comes in and provides the house at a very cost-effective way, that provide the house, and they get paid for that house. And the government does help with that payment. There's HUD and other projects, other types of government assistance that can help transition the people. as long as they're willing to abide by a set of rules. If they're not willing, then they would lose the privilege of being able to stay there, and it would be a limited time. You know, you don't want somebody to stay in that type of a place forever because it's cheap housing or free housing. No, that doesn't change behavior, right? Change behavior, they need opportunity. They need a hand up versus a hand
Are
out.
you aware if there is a program that's gonna push that tiny houses?
I'm not aware of one. I'd like to be involved in helping create that.
Yeah, that was like 6 years ago. I thought it's gonna be huge by now, but
Yeah, I don't
haven't
know
seen
that
it.
it's been, developed beyond the concept. I haven't heard anybody at our city talking about a project like that. But I do know enough creative real estate investors. That's what I
Yes.
do. And I know enough of them that would say, "Hey, man, if I could provide that, it would be a socially good thing and a financially beneficial
Yeah,
thing."
yes, it's fine, and to keep our people from the streets,
Correct.
especially in Las Vegas.
It's hot out there. It's not a fun place to be homeless.
No, yeah, I've seen it. I am actually friends with a lot of nonprofit organization who's helping homeless. I know Bang Heart. I forgot the name of the association. They go under the what they call that, the tunnels.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, to help people out there. But anyways, let's get back to the economy side.
Okay.
So we are, we accept, we welcome sports. We're building stadiums and
Baseball
fields.
stadium's going to be
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, here in Las Vegas, and now the Hollywood 2.0,
Yeah.
yeah, is bringing all here in Las Vegas.
You need to have your show there at that studio too.
Oh no, I am going to build my own home studio.
I love it.
Hollywood
I love
2.0.
That's great.
But anyways, so you see in California where the Hollywood is located, higher crimes, higher homelessness, because people just want to come here. How we actually minimize that with all the things that's coming in, when you actually bringing in good economy, the same everything also race,
Yeah.
homelessness, poverty, and everything.
It minimizes. There are people who want to be homeless just by choice. I've actually
Yes.
spoken to some who have a pension from their work, and just to stretch it further, they think we're crazy because we pay all our taxes and property. They just think they got the system built. Cell phone and everything. They think they got the system beat.
Yes.
That's not the majority of our homeless, but there are some that are
Yeah.
just going to remain that way. Listen, as the economy can be stimulated by business, we have to be careful, right? Because some of the businesses that we're attracting here are coming from places where Hollywood, for example, has kind of tanked the town that they were, that they're famous for, and now they want to put that town here again. We have to be careful that we don't change our electorate temperament to become the next problem state that has the economy problems, the crime problems, the social problems that causes so many Californians to move here in the first place.
Yes.
I'd like to see us keep the economy, but lose some of the issues that have been caused from the judicial and political temperament of California.
So as as a candidate for office, and I have to connect them business and a politician, because that's what we needed in this country.
I think we also need more school teachers in politics. We need
Oh yes.
we need more nurses in politics, more doctors in politics. We need less lawyers, and less politicians. And if we can
Yes.
do that, I think
We
we're
have a
going to be, a representative government
Yes.
should be a representation of all of us,
Yes.
instead of just the political class and the legal class, which is,
Does that motivate you?
it does.
Traditional TV is going away. Hollywood is starting to fade. People are demanding real stories from real people. Our voices are now being heard in our own way. Podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok Live are becoming the norm. Internet TV has now reached the highest demand in human history. Social media shows is now the new media of the century.
Hi, I'm Deacon T with Modern Word Ministries. It's great to be with you today. Just a short little promo for our show. Every Sunday morning we have service, and you can follow us at 10 a.m. Pacific Time on modernwordministries.org. And if you missed us or you want to see some of our older messages, go ahead and check us out on socialmediashows.com every single morning at 9 a.m. It's a great way to kick off your day, get a little bit of the word in you, get something uplifting, get you started off on your way. You know, if you're looking for prayer or you need some help, reach out to us. If you go to our website, again, that's modernwordministries.org, you can interact with me via telephone, via DM, text message, whatever you want. I'll get right back to you. So if you need prayer, you need help, you just need somebody to talk to, Modern Word Ministries is here for you. We are your church in the community. So until you see you next time, be blessed, everybody. Bye-bye.
Got Films is a full-service production company that provides motion picture quality content and production services for use in the film and TV industry. Looking for a seasoned crew, high-quality equipment, or other production services for your film, TV, commercial, corporate convention, sports, news, or interview project? Your search stops here. Some of our projects include NASCAR, American Restoration, Pawn Stars, Counting Cars, Top Chef, BattleBots, Forge and Fire, and Street Outlaws. We have also produced over 60 feature films and documentaries. We're ready for all your needs. Whatever your project, whatever your budget, big or small, Got Films got you. GotFilms.com.
Does it motivate you?
It does. It does. It gets me excited to be part of the solution. Look, there's a lot of good people in this world. There
are more good people than bad people.
Oh, way more.
Yes.
And it's sad to me that we are limited to vote for the people that have the actual courage to do it. There should be more of us. Problem is, it's very expensive. And unless you're an incumbent, people don't just give you money. So you have it, and then all of your dirty laundry can be aired.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
so are you prepared for that when you actually enter this politics world?
I've already entered, and in one of my interviews, somebody said to me, it was actually Steve Sanson said to me, he says, "You know, we've looked you up, man.
I know, Steve.
He said, "There's nothing online about you." It's because
Hi, Steve.
Hey, Steve. I appreciate Steve and the Veterans Associations. It wasn't Steve that endorsed me, but he has a very good endorsement system for the veterans groups, and they've all endorsed me. And I appreciate that. But one of the things he said was, you know, I looked you up online, and you're like a ghost. It's not
you are a ghost.
It's not by intention. It's just I live a pretty boring life. I've been married for 36 years. The first woman that I really ever madly loved, and I still am madly in love with her. So I don't have any kind of scandals or anything like that. I live a pretty.
That's perfect for a candidate.
You know what? It's boring, but it's just who I am, and I'm happy with that.
I'm gonna go a little bit sideways over here.
Sure.
You're a partisan, right?
I am. I'm a registered Republican. Yeah.
Oh, you're a registered Republican.
But at a city level, it's a nonpartisan race. So I get a lot of people who are like, "Are you going to be Trump or Biden?" And just come on, man. This is
doesn't
city.
matter. Yes. So that's what my question is. So how we had two parties that literally banging head all the time.
Yeah.
And when we have two political parties, and we have all these people that these political parties represent, they start. Let me actually say this. Listen, if our political leaders are banging their head, we don't need to divide ourselves with our friends. That's not how it should be working. And I really, I have a candidate right here, Republican, and I would like to actually tell you, please don't do that.
No,
You know,
it's not gonna happen.
yeah. So how how would you do this peacefully with other? What is your connection? What is your relationship with other parties?
Again, in business, it's economics first and everything else second.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand data, you understand that the fastest growing partisan or party is not the Republican Party or the Democrat Party.
Yep.
It's the unaffiliated. It's the independents. It's the people who are saying, I'm neither. Those are the people who are going to cause the paradigm to swing, right?
Yeah.
Are we right? Are we left? No, the largest group of new voters, the largest group is the undeclared. And so that's where the message has to land, and sooner or later the right and the left are going to figure it out. So that's just the way of life, right? We swing one way too far, and then we swing the other way too far, and eventually we need to find a place where we can get along. And I've always lived my life that way. I'm a surfer who grew up in Tempe, Arizona. You see a problem with that? There's not a lot of beach there, right?
No.
So I've always had a dichotomy in my life. I've always, I was a young kid that didn't speak any Portuguese in Brazil. I've always had these dichotomies, right? And what I do extremely well, and it's just a matter of part personality and part force by business to find win-win relationships, to forget about what doesn't matter, right? I married a beautiful Polynesian girl. I actually hit on her in Spanish.
Wow.
Yeah. Oops. Right? So, but look, I didn't understand her culture at all. At all. I never even...
Polynesian, right?
Samoan, yeah.
Samoan.
So I did not know what that meant. But 36 years later, 36 years, I am now very familiar with Samoa. We moved to Samoa so that I could learn the language and culture that she grew up with. And that is how I operate. Let's find a common ground, regardless of color, regardless of background, regardless of party,
Yep.
because we have far more alike.
Yep.
And this is true in religion too. We have far more alike than dissimilar. So let's
Yes.
focus on what's the same
Mm-hmm.
and grow it.
Yes.
And that's just who I am.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's
My mother would agree with you.
Let's vote for Jason, okay? Anyways, I'm trying to stay away from this, but what do you think about Donald Trump trial?
I was sad. Look, if the trial is what the trial is. It's just the first time we've ever adjudicated in any form of way a former president, and I just think that we have set a precedent that's dangerous. I've lived 8 years of my life in Latin America, and I'm concerned because I have seen in Latin America that whoever wins goes after legally the person that they replaced, and I think we've created a precedent that's very scary to me. I don't like that. I wish we could have just left it alone. And I also would, I'll be candid about it, I'd like to see two different people running because
I think
350 million people, and that's our choices. It's, you know what, I vote for Maria.
I vote for Danny. Danny is one of my Vegas views. I created his hat. It says, "Make Danny as president."
It's just, it keeps, the system keeps a lot of good people on the sidelines. And until we get to a point where we say, as a public, look, representative government is the best idea in the history of this world. Our constitutional republic is a beautiful thing, but it is not as representative as it should be. And that's going to take people who are now sitting on the sidelines to get involved. It's going to take people who are now complaining and fighting to say, look, what do we need to do to come together? And until that happens, we're just going to have a lot of noise, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. When can we come together? I always say that let's just live a peaceful life.
You know what? I've hung out with a lot of islanders, and one of the things I love is everything ends in a kongai. Everything ends in a luau. if you're familiar with why, right?
Yes.
We can come together. Let's have a party.
Yeah, let's have
Let's
a party.
let's have a party. Let's eat. Let's have some pancit. Let's have some lumpia. Let's have some kalua pork.
I'm
Let's
gonna
have
go get pancit.
yeah,
after
let's go
this.
have some palusami. Because at the end, when we have a party, the differences are left behind. One of the most beautiful things in my wife's culture is the concept of a high-talking chief. Okay, so you have a high chief that doesn't really say much. They're the boss. And then you have high-talking chiefs. And they must know the history of the family or the clan. And the reason that they orate that for generations back, 10, 15, 20 generations back, is because eventually we find a common ancestor.
Yes.
We find a common ancestor in the Pacific Islands because they're not that big.
Yep.
And once we have a common ancestor, war's over, let's have a party.
Yep.
Let's eat. And that's just the
Right.
way I think it needs to be.
Yeah. Well, let's touch the one of the biggest problem in Las Vegas: drugs and mental illness. Actually, they goes hand in hand.
Yeah, they do. Self-medicating is a real problem. And, I'm not running for any federal office, but I just came back from a trip overseas, and it was amazing to me how much cheaper drugs were in the pharmacy there than here. The same drugs that are made here or made wherever they're made, China usually, are shipped to wherever, and they're sold in Canada, they're sold in the Dominican Republic, they're sold in Mexico and Brazil cheaper than they are here. That's wrong. That's a federal issue, and I won't have any impact on that. But when people can't get access to medications that they desperately need, oftentimes they turn to substances that help them ease the pain of those symptoms, be the mental disabilities and imbalances, or physical. And we as a nation need to understand that drug addiction is just a disease, no different than cancer.
Yes.
But there's a social stigma to anything mental.
Yep.
Anything that's related to anything mental, it's a stigma that we need to remove. And part of that, and I
Part
know
of that, part of that is the slot machine too. No?
yes, yeah. There's vices, right? Addictive behaviors can be gambling. They can be pornography, and all of the roots of that get disgusting. There's because it's releasing the drug in the brain called dopamine, right?
Yeah.
Every time you pull that lever, it's producing dopamine. Dopamine is a drug. And if I don't want to gamble anymore, but I need the dopamine fix, then I turn to some sort of dope, right?
Yep.
And so that's a problem, and you probably don't want me to go here, but it's, to me, a lot could be fixed if we would fix our families and our homes, and a lot of that.
It all starts at
It all
home.
starts at home, and to be honest, I think a lot of us. One thing in my life and in my family's life, my wife's life, that's been an anchor to us is church. And I don't care what church you go to, but if you're the center of your universe, there's going to be problems, because you are not all that, right? I'm not all that. There's got to be somebody, something, some power,
Yes.
higher and better.
Yes.
And
Higher power.
Yeah, that's why the 12 steps works, right?
Yes.
First, we recognize, there's 12 steps. You recognize your problem, and then you recognize you're out of control, and that there's only a source, a power that can help you, and that comes from a place of humility. And
Yep.
we don't see that in politics now. There's no humility, but there needs to be.
Anyways, so if you ever being elected in the office,
I'm going to change that because I'm going to be elected tomorrow.
Yes, right. He is going to be elected tomorrow. I love that. I love that.
I'm going to
Yes.
put that in the universe.
Yes,
and
it is.
Call on the law of attraction for that.
So tomorrow is the election.
It
Why
is.
should we vote for Jason Porter?
Why should you vote for Jason Porter? I don't know if anything I've said here is resonating with you. Then vote for me. I have recently been accused by my opponent of running a negative campaign full of deceit and lies, and it couldn't be further from the truth. I have pointed out through public record some of the problems, including his two ethics charges, and I've pointed out his campaign contributions and his voting record, and I've pointed those out. And that's not negative. That's just a matter of fact. That's a matter of public record, and that can be viewed at HendersonHomeownersAssociation.com has links to all of those things. It's not me saying it; it's just a fact of public record. But when you're the recipient of somebody putting out your record, it can feel like an attack. It's not an attack. It's factual, and I think people need facts. Right? Remember, in business, first thing is economics first, and everything else. Facts first, and everything else second.
Yeah.
We can't become emotionally involved in our decisions
Nope.
and make good decisions. We have to be able to step back, look at analytical data, and say, here's what this person has done. Does that make me uncomfortable? Here's what this person says he's going to do. Do I trust that, and do I believe in that? Well, I just simply say this. If Henderson is happy with the current rate of high-density development, by the way, there's 9 new approved by my opponent, apartment complexes going down Boulder Highway, which will put 10,000 new residents on a street that they're going to slow down by 10 miles an hour and reduce 2 lanes of traffic. If you're comfortable with that kind of development, if you're comfortable, then vote for the incumbent.
So what's going on? Yeah, I see.
Or vote for me.
Yeah.
If you want change.
Yes, change and a better change. Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to just say, okay, I'm going to change, so I'm going to roll the dice.
Yes.
But if you believe in what I'm saying, then give me a chance.
Yeah, what I was saying was, I've seen this all these developments here in Las Vegas, like housing, so much housing that nobody is living in it. Have you seen those?
We have a real problem here with investors from out of state just buying up inventory for rentals. And so there's a lot of rental inventory here that is sitting empty. You've got large hedge funds. In fact, right in my ward, they're doing a development of nothing. The entire single-family home development is rental homes. 100% of them are going to be sold to people who won't live there. I personally have a problem with that kind of development, right? Look, it's your right if you want to rent your home, but I like living in a place that says you cannot rent your home anything shorter than 6 months.
Yeah.
And
well, I think that's what that's the taxes on when you own a house, right?
That's directed usually by an HOA. If you're not in an HOA, you can do what you wish. There are some city ordinances that are trying to shut down Airbnbs and make that more difficult. You see that in Honolulu. You see that all over the country. And I'm a fan of free commerce. I'm a fan of the free market. I'm not a fan of incentivizing massive amounts of out-of-state owners, because they're not the ones that are living with the consequences of having a bunch of people who have no emotional connection to ownership here.
Yep.
One
more thing about structure of housing here. I've seen a lot here in Las Vegas where those houses are literally you can actually see your neighbor inside their other house.
Blinds are good. I recommend you buy some. I'm just kidding.
I know.
Yeah, they're very close together now. And
what type of structures are those?
Those are standalone single-family homes. But what happens is the city council is approving the lot dimensions, and instead of quarter acres, they're going down to smaller 0.15 of an acre, and the square footage of the so a quarter of an acre is going to be, let's see, an acre is 44,000 square feet, so a quarter of that's going to be, 12,000, 11,000 feet. So when we get down to a small 7,000 foot lot, you're not sharing walls, but you're pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't those dangerous? Very dangerous.
That's high density housing. Okay, and to me, that's just slamming more people. We have to have police and fire departments for that. Henderson grew 100,000 residents before they built a new fire station. It's not safe.
Yeah, it's
not safe.
not.
Now, granted, they've built a few since then, so they're kind of catching up, and I'm really excited that they're changing the old camping world into an elite fire station and training facility for our fire department. But we got to do that with our police. We have to hire more. On that note, I'm going to go after our military. There are a lot of Samoans, a lot of a lot of people who come from socioeconomically challenged backgrounds join the military as a way to have school paid for, as a way to have these benefits that our veterans deserve. But most who enlist in the military don't make it a career. Most of them will do a term and then they're out, right?
Yeah.
I want to be there when they're out, because a transition from Air Force, from Marine, from Navy, from Army, or even Coast Guard, a regimented lifestyle, highly trained, weapons trained, a perfect transition into police. They're going to have a vertical pay raise by, in many cases, almost double. They're going to have really good benefits packages, and they're already trained with a lot of the things that we have to put a new trainee who doesn't have any background in weaponry, in hand-to-hand combat, and some of the things that a police officer is going to face, where our military has that. So I really want to work with our military to transition people who don't re-up into Henderson Police Department. I think it'd be a great deal.
Yeah, why they never did that before?
I think they do a little bit. They don't make it a major focus, but I will.
That's good. That's good.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I have a follow-up question with that, but I'm gonna do that at the end. Okay. One more thing before I go, I'm gonna ask all the closing questions. Okay. Education in Las Vegas.
Oh gosh, it needs to be better. We're ranked 49th in the country. Mm-hmm. In the country. Now there's some that will say, no, we're ranked 48th, or we're ranked 47th. It doesn't matter. They're all bad.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. 45. We're in the back end. Okay, listen, that's what it is.
When you say results of public education in Nevada or in Las Vegas are anywhere on par with Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, there's a problem. Those places socioeconomically are far more challenged than we are, and they're getting similar results from an educational standpoint. How do we work with that? How do we fix that? Well, if you look at our Clark County School District, it's the largest footprint school district in the country. It's massive. It goes from Mesquite to Laughlin, right? When that school district was created in 1956, I believe, we had 8,500 residents. We're approaching 400,000 residents. I believe that district needs to break up, but in order for that to happen, it needs to happen at a state level. In order for that to happen, the citizenry would have to be involved in a vote to make it happen. So until moms and dads decide, I want my town more involved in my kids' education, I want me as a parent more involved in my kids' education, we're not going to get there. We do have, Henderson has its own control now over charter schools, which is awesome. Yep. But it's not enough.
Carrie and I talked about this 4 years ago when she was back here.
It's passed, so municipalities now have that, but we're maxing out, I believe, at 7% of the student body population for the city in charters, and that's not enough. We need to have more autonomy there, more control, and I understand that Henderson is more affluent than North Las Vegas, and that's seemingly unfair. There's ways around that financially. We can come to a win-win relationship and make things work. But I think that Northtown would best be served by people who are making decisions just for Northtown. Henderson would be best served by people who are making decisions just for Henderson. So I'm advocating for that. But as a city councilman, I can't make that happen. I can only advocate for it and work towards implementing it.
Press it.
Is it?
Yeah, keep on pressing it.
Yep.
So you are saying that it has to be the parents, like, hey, I want it this way.
We have to have enough people voting, forcing our state representatives, our state senators and state legislators to, one, put forward a law breaking up Clark County School District. They have to write that. And in order to write that, the electorate has to put pressure on them to say, go do it. And until there's enough pressure to do that, they're never going to draft that bill.
Yeah.
But
so do you know what's the challenge why the parents are not?
Well, I can tell you, my daughter moved here with her children and her husband and lived very close to us here in Henderson. They lasted a year. And because of the quality of the schools, they moved to Texas. And that took 3 grandchildren away from me. And what she said is the reason they moved is because the parental involvement at that school, and it was a good school. Henderson's schools are actually doing better than the Valley as a whole. Mm-hmm. It was a good school by Las Vegas standards. But the involvement was, to my daughter's, quoting my daughter, pathetically low. Meaning, when you had a function at the school that she moved from out of state, every parent was there, everybody was there. And here we have much less parental involvement. And that can be because we have 24-hour, 3-shift lifestyles, right? Because of the casino jobs where you're working odd hours, and it's just a different dynamic. So we have our own unique challenges here that don't exist in other states that can cause some of that parental disconnection. You also have a situation where, because of the casino deal, you have a kid who's really not that motivated to make 6 figures. I can go be a dealer. All I got to do is be able to pass that test. I don't need to have college to do that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of taking some of the incentive away from higher education that is required in other states. So we have a unique situation, and it's going to take parents to be more involved.
Yes, I think again it starts at home.
Starts at home.
Yeah, I think it's all starts at home. Well, this conversation, this chat is so. I wish, I can go on and on. I have so many things, but we have.
My wife would tell you, so can I. I could talk forever. So.
No, you've been a really, really very informative guest, and I literally created 20 questions, and I think I only asked 5, but. Anyways, one of the closing questions I want to ask you is, if you are going to be elected tomorrow, what are your plans for the first 90 days?
First 90 days, I want to introduce an ordinance, as I said, that's going to forbid any council person, force any council person to divest from consulting companies that provide consulting services to any business operating in Henderson. The next thing I will do is I'll change the governance policy. Right now we have a governance policy which, by verbatim in there, or not verbatim, but the actual language says that if a resident has a customer, is the language they use, which I hate, but if a resident has a complaint, they're to take that to a chief of staff at the city. Then through the chief of staff's filter, it gets to a council person if they deem it worthy, and then through the council person back to the chief of staff or their staff, and then to the resident. That's a bureaucratic mess. Mm-hmm. If you vote for me, when you vote for me, my phone number is 702-758-4232, and that's not going to change when I am your representative. Just call me. You don't go through a chief of staff. I mean, if you want to, you can. But if you got an issue, call the dude you voted for and let me hear it. And good, bad, or ugly, I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to say, hey, I either agree, disagree, I'll take that into consideration. Have you thought through that? And we'll go through the scenarios with you so that I can represent you on the dais, on that seat up above the council. I'm not representing me. I'm representing the people. And if I don't hear from them directly, that's a problem. So those are the first 2 things I'm going to do in the first 30 days.
90 days.
Oh, 90 days? Well, let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
The next one, I would like to see an ordinance brought in at a city level to change our campaign contribution maximums. Right now, you can contribute $5,000 per cycle to a candidate. That's $10,000 per cycle. Okay? For a job that pays $60,000 a year, that's ludicrous. That's way too much money, right? It's way too much money. Furthermore, a company can give you $10,000, but they might own 5 or 6 companies, $10,000 each. So one of the ordinances I'd like to put in is if anybody has more than 1% ownership in any other company, they get 1 donation. I'd like to see that donation come down to $2,500 as a maximum. A reduction of 75%. Because we just don't need it. And if we're spending that much money, if you're spending $600,000 on a campaign, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Those numbers, it just doesn't make sense. From a business standpoint, would you spend $600,000 to make 60?
No.
It's insane.
Yeah.
There has to be another thing that's going on.
Yep.
right? There has to be
And-
something cooking on the back.
Yes.
And
Are you
it-
gonna dig into it?
Well, look, right now it's not against the law.
Oh, it's not against the law.
No,
Okay.
right-
Because that's the reason why you are.
I need to make those changes.
Yeah.
I need to make those changes. I think our federal government should change the situation with our congressional members. They can trade on the stock market on insider knowledge and not go to jail.
Yeah.
We sent Martha Stewart to jail for it. That doesn't make sense to me.
I need to actually go and research that because I never know that.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's get Jason Porter to the office right now in Henderson, because I think this guy deserved to be in the higher office.
Thank you very much. I'm humbled by that.
So go ahead and tell them your telephone number and your website so that they can go and find you.
Yes, please. My website is votejasonporter.com. My phone number is 702-758-4 over here. I'll do it one more time. It's votejasonporter.com. Votejasonporter.com. And that's Jason spelt normal, Jason, okay? So votejasonporter.com. My phone number is 702-758-4232. One more time, 702-758-4232. I answer that myself, and I do own my own business, so if it goes to voicemail, I'll call you back. But it'll be me doing it. I don't have an assistant running anything for me. It's just me.
That's my
All right.
question yesterday.
Yeah. No, I don't have it. It's just me. Yeah.
Well, anyways, Jason, thank you so much for gracing my show today.
Oh my goodness, thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure
You're
having
a lot of
you.
fun.
Me too. I was like, I am like talking to Jason like I am just actually drilling a businessman, a person who like a friend, like hey, it's really an amazing conversation. I
Thank you so
really
much.
love it. Well, thank you so much, viewers of Let's Talk Word. Please don't forget to share, comment, subscribe on our website. We have all subscription on all social media platforms now. So please keep on. I just need your support. And that's what I've been asking from day one of social media shows. And we've been getting so many views and many inquiries and, and comments and everything. And I thank all of you guys out there.
Thank you so much.
And till next week, this is Maria and
Jason.
Jason.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys
Maria,
again
thank you so
soon.
much.
Thank you.